Let's doodle all over these little people heads today. This is from New York Magazine, the one with Barbara Streisand on the cover. And I opened it up to this page with all these people, and I thought the colors and their little faces were all very inspiring, so I just wanted to decorate all over them. I'm starting out with my Neocolor 2 pastels on this paper that is not newsprint. It's magazine paper interior, but it feels like newsprint. It's actually a really great tactile experience when you're using Neocolors on this paper, just because they just glide right over it. It's very like buttery when you draw with the Neocolor on this paper. It's super fun. It's a little bit waxy. It's just really neat. The way that the paper takes the color can be variable, but you'll see as I go on that the color pickup can be different. These markers that I'm using here are Amazon Basics chalk markers, and I didn't buy these for paper. I bought them for a chalkboard, but I'm using them on paper today. And though they're not like really suitable for paper, I'm still using them for paper. They dry down really matte, as you can expect, because they're chalk markers. I really like this chisel tip for these wavy lines. So I was doodling a little bit last night on a different picture, and I discovered that I really liked using these for wavy lines in the background and for little marks. And another cool thing about them is if you draw like with the Neocolor over these chalk markers, they pick up the Neocolor, and it's really nice. So I'll be doing that later on in this drawing. It's cool. So you see how the Neocolor sometimes doesn't always look opaque when you're drawing it over something dark on this type of paper. And I think even on an art paper, this would also be semi-transparent because there's not like a lot of white in the base. So yeah, so some of these Neocolors are not super opaque over this paper, and I'm just working with it. So the Neocolor 2s to me seem to be more opaque than the 1s. Mostly what I have are 2s. The 2s are water soluble, the 1s are not. The 1s are a little bit more of a waxy base, and they're very permanent. Like you can't pick them up with any water or anything, and you can't even smudge them. But I prefer the 2s, although I feel like the 1s, there's a place for them, you know. They're really good for resist stuff, like for resistance work. If you're gonna draw and then on a piece of paper and then do watercolor over it, or ink, or maybe even like alcohol marker or something, it would be cool to see. It's cool to see what the Neocolor 1s do. It's kind of like drawing with a candle or something. It's just drawing with a piece of wax. They leave some marks impenetrable, so that's cool, but we're not doing that today. But it's kind of fun to talk about what different supplies are good for. So that's really a great way to use the Neocolor 1s. The 2s are just like so fun because you can use them with any other water-based media, and you can smudge them, and you know, they're just a barrel of monkeys, really. I finally found a Neocolor 2 that does a good amount of opacity on this paper. I like her little wavy hair. Yeah, I've really been into these waves. So when I was a kid, I used to basically do like Zentangles all over my notebooks, and back then they weren't called Zentangles. That it wasn't like branded as Zentangles. So ever since Zentangle came out, you know, the whole property, the whole brand, and you know, all the products that are marketed to Zentangling, which I think is awesome, because I think it's great that somebody marketed this way of drawing, but it wasn't always called Zentangle. And you know, the more people are creative, the better, I think. So that's great, but it wasn't always called Zentangle. Sometimes it was just called doodling or drawing or I used to think they looked like drawing muscles or something. So like muscle fibers. Anyway, I'm going off track here. So I'm trying to stay within a certain color palette for this entire page, but as you'll see as I go along, I'm just picking up different colors to just add to the palette. So drawing on newsprint type paper is really fun tactile experience. It's kind of cushy. It's kind of absorbent. This paper is a little different because it's coated, but you do get kind of the same vibe. It's not quite the same as newsprint. So when I was a kid, I used to draw all over magazines in my house because sometimes I just didn't have a notebook or something or a sketchbook to draw in. So I would just grab whatever magazines were around, and there was like search awards around, and there was TV guides around, and other magazines. And some of these magazines, like a lot of these types of books, were uncoated newsprint with like black ink on them. So I got really used to just drawing over top of those. This kind of reminds me of that, kind of brings me back to that a little bit. Something that is from my childhood that I remember that is kind of fun. So I'm really going abstract pattern with this whole thing. And I wanted to get a red that was just a little bit lighter than his jacket, and a red that was a good counterpart to the Neocolor. So I used the Amazon Basics chalk pen red. Sorry, I keep using the entire name of the pen, but I just want to make sure that it doesn't get confused because I'm going to grab a Posca in a minute because the color the Amazon Basics pen was just like too blue red. So I grabbed a Posca, and that's what I'm dipping right now with this dot maker. I had a little splurge, not a splurge. My pen threw up, so it threw up that little dot. So I'm using it to draw over the marks I made with the chalk marker, and that looks a lot better, I think. Okay, we'll come back to him in a minute, but now I'm just bringing the background up to the guy above him. This is like Brady Bunch squares. Seriously. Anyway, I wanted to pick some more colors that sort of brought this guy into the fray without doing anything too crazy and outside the color scheme. So I went back to my Neocolor tub and I found this blue metallic Neocolor that I'm using to bring him into the rest of the composition. It's like a neutral grayish blue, so it's not clashing with anything else I have currently down on the page. And this Neocolor 2 is actually a metallic, but these Neocolor 2 metallics really don't look super metallic anyway, and then on newsprint they're even more dulled down. So even though it's coated, it's absorbent. So sometimes papers like that will absorb the whatever metallic you put onto it, and it won't look metallic really anyway. So okay, let's talk about this lady. So I made her look like a religious icon. So I gave her sort of a halo, and I used the fabric in her clothes to create some details. I used a Zeyar paint pen on her, and I did a review of those paint pens on my channel, Zeyar. So because I used a color on the guy on the right that was not already in the artwork, I decided to bring the green up. Now the intuitive palette is really coming out because I'm just going to be bringing all the colors together from here on in pretty much. Now I'm bringing in another Zeyar acrylic paint pen. This color is like really similar to that Neocolor green how it looks once it's laid down on the paper, so it's not like shouting or anything. It's more like a detail and a fill-in. Sorry, my hand's getting in the way of the artwork. So here's where we are with the guy. Okay, coming back to our religious lady, I just couldn't help myself. I had to bring one more of these chalk markers in with the chisel tip that I love so much, and this is just sort of addictive, this making these wavy lines with the chisel tip around the people. So, and then I have to give her some fun little face dots. So I gave her some freckles, but then I decided to give her more than freckles. Okay, we have sad Harlequin Artist over here, and we are putting stripes on her apron. I'm having a lot of fun with these chalk markers. I like how they dry down on this paper. Okay, back to dots and going in with a Zeyar, that green marker. I do have to hand it to these Zeyars. You get a lot of pen for your money with them. They're kind of a budget acrylic paint pen, but they're really fun to use and you get a lot of ink. And if you just keep your tips clean, then you're good to go. I'm using these chips after having not rinsed them out for a while, and they're working good. So that's awesome and a little unexpected, but yay. So on to gray Emo Guy here. So I have another Zeyar gray paint pen here, drippy on his shirt. He's obviously got a lot on his mind. So now we're on to this Parker Posey lady, and I'm bringing the gray over to just tie it all in, and she's also getting some wavy lines. This is a Posca paint pen, and I love Posca, so Posca's probably my overall favorite paint pen. I really love Molotow too. I have a lot of videos with both Posca and Molotow on my channel, so feel free to check those out. So yeah, now we're on to this blonde lady. She's awesome. She's very dramatic looking, and I love her hair, and I love her red lips, and she's got some piercing eyes, and we are going to come back to her with some pink in a minute, but I'm just chisel tipping. I'm all over this chisel tip. Sorry about the blur. And we're back to the guy that reminds me of Stop Making Sense era David Byrne jacket. I know his jacket was white and that guy's jacket is red, but it had the same boxy shape, so I couldn't help but think of that. So yeah, bringing in some pink bangs on this lady. I just love these paint pens. The way they dry on this paper is so cool. Okay, so we can all probably agree that wavy lines is more therapeutic and like comfort drawing for me than actual pattern. But just let's just go with it. Let's just go with the waves. I'm going with the waves today. And she has a lot of neon going on. Okay, so now I just want to tie everything in, and I wanted to get like the big picture and stop working on the segments of these little portraits. So right now I'm just trying to tie all the colors in, patterns in, just everything in. Mostly like I try and make the colors dance around the page so that everything's tied in. So I'm moving around the red, Neocolor to the different portions of the page. And everybody is getting little red cheeks today, I see. I love little red cheeks. And this is where I'm starting to use the Neocolor on top of the chalk marker and loving the effect of it. It's so easy to draw with these Neocolors, really well coverage on top of these chalk markers. And it's nice. So now I'm just tying more red in over the text on the pages. And it's kind of nice to have the text portions on this page to give me a space to just put a block of color or a shape of color to just tie in a color and the shapes to the entire composition better. I think I felt like I was ignoring the text areas, and I don't want to ignore the text areas. and partially because I haven't read this article yet. So I wanted to make sure it was still readable after I drew on this, and some of it might not be, and that's okay. So I'll just do my best. So you can really see on Harlequin Artist Girl's apron and on that orange line that I just drew on how much the pigment comes out when you draw with the Neocolor over the chalk marker. And I mean, you can draw over anything that I've used on this page with them. I brought in some of the green Zeyar marker behind our Harlequin Artist Girl too, so that's all tied in. And the gray Zeyar paint pen actually is similar to the green Zeyar. It has like a similar, there's like a similar tonal quality to the gray. And actually in the actual Zeyar package of markers that I bought, I think this one is called olive green, which I thought was so funny because a lot of these markers, like, the names aren't really apt to the color that comes out of the pen, but I just loved this gray color that is on Emo Boy. So it's a greenish gray and it's really beautiful. And clearly I'm in love with these this pink chalk pen, the chalk markers, and this pink chalk marker, because I will not put it down. Keep adding little details here and there, but it's just a really fun chalk marker on top of this type of paper. If you ever use chalk marker on top of newsprint or magazine paper, just try not to rub and try not to go over lines more than one time, because the paper will turn to pulp on you. So just be aware of that when you're using it. And I also like to do the dab and the dot approach with it, because that keeps you from moving the pulp in the paper around. So what do you think of my page? How do you think it came out? Will you try this at home? Will you grab a magazine and just go to town with your water soluble crayons and your paint pens? If you do, let me know what you think. And let me know what you end up using so I can give it a shot myself. Just leave a message in the comments to let me know. You can see how everything came out. I think I'm gonna do the left side of the page next, so stay tuned for that one. And I hope you have an awesome day. Stay creative, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.